All you really need to know is infinite love is the only truth. Everything else is illusion. And it repeated it. Infinite love is the only truth. Everything else is illusion. The illusion that has stopped us understanding our true nature, which is consciousness, is what creates the division, the chaos, the conflict, the hatred, and stops us being what we truly are, which is incarnate love. That's what we're supposed to be. Not love in the sense of, you know, I saw you down the disco, fancy you darling, love you darling, all that stuff. No, it's love another way. We have so misrepresented what love is. We have to put words in front of it now, like unconditional love and what have you. But it is a state of harmony, a state of being, a state of compassion, a state of empathy. And when we are in that state, there is no disharmony. But when you fall for the illusion of what I call the phantom self, the name of one of my books, where we self-identify who we are with the labels, then the force manipulating human society can play those labels off against each other and create divide and rule and conflict, which is what it does. And through this subdivision and subdivision of the minutiae of self-identity, it's doing it on an ever greater scale. When you self-identify with being a point of attention within infinite awareness, and I look at you and I know that you are a point of attention within the same awareness, and so are you, and so are you, and so is everybody else, then we view each other in a completely different way. No longer do we need to compete. No longer do we need to manipulate. No longer do we need to trash. No longer do we need to cuss and kick and fight to get to the top of the greasy pole. The greasy pole for what? The greasy pole within this infinitesimal section of time we call a human life, when what we are infinitely is consciousness. And we have to fight each other and punch each other and kick each other to get to the top of a greasy pole in this tiny segment of life, or time we call life. Even time's an illusion, by the way. And
but you do have to be somewhere about 15
minutes. Within the perception of this reality. Time exists within the perception of this reality.
Which we created.
When I think it's been created for us. That's another whole interview.
Okay.
But when people leave the body in a near-death experience and they go to a point where they become consciousness, a state of awareness, then time as we experience it here does not exist. And if you think about time, people think there's a past and there's a future, but there's only a now. There's only a now moment, and so that's very difficult for people to grasp at first, because they think, well, I've been there and I'm going there. Well, but hold on a minute. When you're thinking of the past, where are you? You're in the now. When you're worrying about the future, where are you? You're in the now. And when what we call the future becomes an experience, it's experienced in the now. There's only the now. So time is an illusion too. But we use time so that we can operate within this reality. But again, it's part of the illusion. It's part of the reality that people think is real, but isn't. And you know, if you kind of think about it, if you are a tiny group of people deep in the shadows who understand the nature of reality, the illusory nature of reality, how people interact with reality, how perceptions of people become their experience, cause and effect, just think of the magnitude of power that gives you over the target population. This is why mainstream science is so controlled, so that it doesn't go down these roads. I mean, you know, you talk to most scientists, although quantum physics has shown this to be true, and they have to acknowledge quantum physics exists because it does, they crack on in their own disciplines as if quantum physics doesn't exist, as if the whole thing's bloody solid and real. I mean, you look at medicine. Medicine treats the body as if the body is a solid reality with the scalpel and the drug. But the body is just a decoded projection of waveform energetic fields. And if that energetic field is in harmony, the body has to be in harmony. It has to be healthy, because the body that we see is just a holographic decoded projection of the waveform field of information. If that waveform field of information becomes disharmonious, which emotion can do, this is why stress causes illness, which fear can do, which anxiety can do, which radiation fields can do, which Wi-Fi can do, then that distortion of the waveform field of the body becomes expressed in the projection, decoded projection of what we call the physical body. And therefore we have dis-ease, disharmony, illness, which is why the alternative methods of healing, going way, way back, whether it's acupuncture, all of it, focus on healing the waveform level of the body, the energetic level of the body, knowing that if that's right, this must be right. Because mainstream medicine, within this 5-cent postage stamp prison that it operates in, does not accept the waveform level of the body and only accepts this level, which it can see, touch and taste, etc. What can it do but try to treat what it can see with the scalpel and the drug, which is why it causes such mayhem to the point where the biggest cause of death in America now is the treatment. Staggering but true. And so what alternative practitioners say is mainstream medicine only treats the symptom, it doesn't treat the cause. But if mainstream medicine will not accept the existence of the waveform field level of the body, which is where the cause comes from, it's only left with treating the symptom, which is the expression of a problem in the waveform field being decoded into the holographic field of the body. So you look at science, you look at medicine, that journalism, like I say, all of it, politics, they're all living on this postage stamp. Oh, we're a left-wing political party. Okay, you're on the left of the postage stamp. And we're a right. Yeah, okay, you're on the right of the postage stamp. But no one's off the postage stamp. And therefore, society is living in this bubble of unreality, this bubble of complete misunderstanding of the very reality we're experiencing. And it's kind of sobering to think that science, politics, medicine, all of it, journalism, decisions being made all the time about what happens to the world and what happens here and what happens there, are all being made by people who are absolutely clueless about the very reality they are experiencing. They are making laws, making decisions based on the world being solid and real when it's not. Is it any wonder that the world is chaotic and a place of utter madness? How could it not be? How could it not be? Understanding the reality that we're experiencing is fundamental to everything. How can we understand anything if we don't understand the very reality we're experiencing? And you know, when you perceive the world to be solid and physical, what comes from that? Virtually everything is impossible. Oh, that's not possible, that's not possible, that's not possible. Once you realize that the world is malleable because it's just the decoded expression of a malleable information waveform field, then suddenly what is possible absolutely explodes. And so much is waiting to be discovered, or waiting to be unsuppressed, better way of putting it, that would set this world free and create a paradise, which it could be, instead of a prison, which it is, because the knowledge that I'm talking about is suppressed. And so you have people who are a point of attention within infinite awareness that are all that is, has been, and ever can be. And you ask them who you are, who they are, and they will say, I'm Ethel. I work on the checkout at Tesco. That's who I am. No, it's not. That's the experience you're having at the moment. But it's not who you are. But if you think that's what you are, how are you going to live your life? I have no power. What can I do? And that's what the system wants. And that's why it wants to put us in these perceptual prisons. I refuse to go there. Thank you very much.
All right, so that's question one. Funny joke. So I really want to respect your time. We've got maybe 5 to 10 minutes left. How about we have a little bit of fun and do something different and do like maybe a quick fire round?
Go on then.
I'll ask like 5 or 6 questions.
Do I get a prize?
Well, yeah, we'll publish you. Yeah. All right, so quick fire, maybe try and give 10, 20 seconds. So something I'm inspired with about you is how prolific you are with your work. You've done like 5 books in 2 or 3 years. How are you so prolific with your work? How do you get so much out there? So many books?
I just sit down here and write them. And sit here until they're finished. And what happens is that I'll set out with a kind of an idea, because I never write a book unless I'm going to take it further. It usually ends up very different to how it started out, because the information comes to you and the synchronicity comes to you. Information comes to you in synchronistic ways. Over a period of days, you might have a new subject come into your life out of nowhere, and suddenly you're coming across information about that subject from everywhere. This has happened to me for 30 years, and some of the books have been written. Yeah. And so there is another force at work. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. Okay, great. So you've had, it could be perceived that you've had quite varied careers. You started with football, got your arthritis, then of course your TV presenting and various different things that you've done, and of course your career now. Would you say you've reinvented yourself? You've definitely adapted very well in different areas of your life. What's your thoughts about how you've had different careers?
It's been a journey, and it's been a journey looking back that has been incredibly synchronistic. I grew up on a council estate in Leicester, where people didn't expect much more than go and work in a factory if they could get a job, because there were factories in those days, and they thought, small, and because that's what they were, that's their perception of what their life was, because they were working class. I never accepted that. I wanted to be a footballer. People said, oh, you never be a footballer. How many people are footballers? I said, I'm going to be a footballer, and I became a footballer. And again, through a synchronistic bits of, quote, luck that were amazing, that I ended up there. But then at the age of 21, so my childhood was about, I'm not accepting the norm immediately. I'm not accepting this is what my life's going to be. I'll decide what my life's going to be. I then went to play football, and I got rheumatoid arthritis. I had to finish at the age of 21. And that was a tremendous opportunity for me to overcome massive disappointment, to overcome the sense of, oh, I'm a victim, and saying, no, I'm not. And I thought, what am I going to do now? And I'd always been interested in journalism as a kid. I used to read papers a lot. I want a front grandstand, BBC show, it used to be, a sports show. And people say, you'll never front grandstand. I'm going to front grandstand. And again, I went into journalism and papers and radio and stuff. Bits of luck and synchronicity, I ended up fronting grandstand.